want to show you.
Yeah, you also wrote one of my favorite albums of all time. A couple of years ago, I was asked to put together a top 100 albums of all time list, and the Queen of the Damned soundtrack actually made my top 10. So it's an
Oh, no shit. Nice.
absolute honor chatting to you about
Oh,
that.
cool, man.
That you have had such an amazing career. What was it like sitting down to write this book? Like, there was so much that you could have included in this book. What was it like going back over your life to write it?
Well, there were many ways to approach writing the book, and it was an amalgam of emotions, because I wasn't expecting to find all my journals. You know, after 20 years, I kept journals for about 15 years, and to find everything, and it was literally I joke you not, it was the last box. I remember keeping all these journals, and then I remember I had all my notebooks. I also did Daniel Powder and Macy Gray and the Korn stuff, and I had kept notebooks when I left the different offices of everything I ever did, every receipt, everything, and I'm like, I found the Macy Gray stuff, I found the Daniel Powder stuff, and I found some Linkin Park stuff, but I was like, I really just, after Chester's funeral, I was literally on this, this quest to find all the inspiration, because of all the bands I ever worked with, I would say that was the one I stuck by the most and believed in the most, and I just needed to find all this stuff, and it was the last box, the very last box, and I was just like, I basically didn't even want to look at it, because I'm like, it just looked like it was, filled with crap, and it was at the bottom of this huge box, and I believe it was like a huge computer box, like in the old days. It was like this, it was huge. And I'm pulling through it. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, wow. And I'm pulling stuff out, and everything was at the bottom. And I was just like, oh, my God. And I literally, every journal almost, on a weekly basis about the journey of trying to get this band into the right hands so that the world would know about them. It was an exhausting experience, and the ups and downs, and the relationships roller coaster with, Brad as he started as my intern, and I had written about the poker games we had, and him at my bachelor party, and I mean, I just kept really good records, because I was at the time when I was in my mid to late 20s out of law school, I was so honored and realized what a incredible blessing I had to be in the music business. And so I wanted to record every moment so someday I could look back on it, because I knew it could never be this great, going out and getting flown around to see bands, and I had really never traveled, and it was just this whole new experience. So I had everything, written into my journals, and my emotions, and, meeting girls, all that kind of stuff at the same time. So I was like, wow, I actually, went back, and I was really happy with it. But then, knowing as an adult how dark and cloudy things get in the entertainment industry, it was a really eye-opening experience reading my own journals, looking back at, it's not just all, fun and good times. So I decided to write a book, and it took pretty much 5 to 7 incarnations of the book. And I had a lot of people in my ear trying to tell me, oh, do a tell-all, and tell all the torrid stories that I, obviously, people knew. And I decided to take a longer perspective at it and look at how inspirational it was. Because when, especially in this time, and I know I'm jumping everywhere, but I deal with mentoring a lot of young people, all from UCLA, ironically, for the most part. Brad Delson was from UCLA. Two of the kids that helped me organize my book, because I wrote it myself without any other writers, they were from UCLA. And ironically, these kids that are from UCLA are all about, I'd say they're 19 to 20,
yeah.
and they all knew Linkin Park. And mind you, the Hybrid Theory album came out 20 years ago, and I was working on this before they were born, basically. So the fact that they were such huge fans was overwhelming to me, because it really reached so many people and so much of an age demographic. So I decided to write something extremely inspirational, and literally at the very end, the book was at the printers, and I was talking to one of the guys in Limp Bizkit, and I went and pulled the book and even added more inspirational things, because looking at it from an outside perspective, the lessons that can be learned from the book about speaking your truth being number one, the fact that everybody has dreams, and people in our age of social media talk ad nauseum about, I'm going to do this, and I've got this, I've got a podcast, and I've got a TikTok, and I've got this many followers, and do this, that, and the other. And of all these, there's a million people, maybe 5% of those people actually follow their dreams and do what they say they're going to do. And of those 5%, I would say 100% of them are going to get rejected.
Yep.
But it's the 1%, the 0.001% forging through all the rejections and all the no's. And it's always the fact that we get so close to succeeding, but at the very end we're told no, which is what happened with Linkin Park over and over and over. The fact that we were able to forge ahead with the band's own vision and be authentic about it and get a record deal is the reason I wrote this, because it's too easy to give up on your dreams.
Yeah.
That's the whole point in a long-winded way. It's too easy.
Yeah.
And, even, did you read the whole book? Were you able to?
I haven't been sent the book yet, but I've basically been able to read an outline of what the book is about. And I've done a lot of research into your career as well.
Man, I would urge you to read it. The band was rejected 44 times when we got to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers was the only label that actually was interested in signing them. Every record label said, well, because they wanted to hire me to do A&R, because I had just broken Macy Gray, we had Korn, Limp Bizkit, had a whole slew of back-to-back hits. Nobody wanted Linkin Park.
Yeah.
And I said, the only condition I have to go to a record label is that I get to sign this band, which was Hybrid Theory at the time. And most of the labels were like, we'll look at that after you come aboard, except for Warner Brothers. And then when I went to Warner Brothers, there was a 9-month time lag before I could get out of my publishing contract, because I was with a publishing company, to move to Warner. And the week before I got to Warner Brothers, the guy who hired me and actually wanted to sign the band was let go. And the guy who replaced him was somebody who had passed on the band 3 times and didn't like Macy Gray or any of the artists I had signed, and not me so much. So we had everything stacked up against us again. And then I really hope you read the book, because we were literally during the first 3 weeks of the record, my boss came down and said, you got to fire the rapper.
Yep.
And that was a whole nother devastating blow to the chemistry and the energy and that positive energy about making a record. And the fact that the band and myself overcame it without A, getting dropped, and B, released this record that literally was on the brink of not getting released is nothing close to a miracle. Because we really didn't follow my boss's orders.
Yep.
and it became the number one selling debut album of the 21st century.
Yeah.
So that's why I know you can paraphrase it, and again, maybe you want to race through the book prior, but it'll give a really good context to the really the miracle that happened with this band.
Yeah.
And I don't use that lightly. I mean, like finding. You read it how I found Chester. It was just a fluke, man. It was a random phone call at South by Southwest. We were both drunk, and I called this guy. I mean, you can ask me all the questions. You have a question pertaining to that. But everything surrounding this story, from Brad being my intern, walking into my office and criticizing Korn and Limp Bizkit and saying he was going to have a band that was going to be better, to, just the entire journey is pretty incredible that we actually kept this thing together. Yeah.
Do you think the book's importance has risen a lot due to what's happened over the last 12 months? Because we had 12 months basically of lockdown here in Melbourne. Artists couldn't perform, and there was a survey done the other day where 67% of musicians surveyed said they will probably give up on their careers after what's happened in the last 12 months, especially considering that they weren't able to get any government handouts. Musicians and comedians were the only people that couldn't get a government handout in Australia during the pandemic. Do you think that your book is going to land on the shelves at a really important time for those 67% that said they want to give up on their careers?
Well, I hope it does, because it's hit everybody in many ways. I manage four different artists, and I tell everybody, including myself, when the pandemic hit, because obviously I work with artists, and these artists aren't able to make any money. So I went through the same thing, and I had a lot of contracts where artists going out and everything just stopped. So what I urge everybody to do is constantly work on your craft. Use that time wisely. Like what I did was I really finished the book, and when the pandemic hit, I was able to get book publisher. I finished a movie script, which is making its round with some huge production companies right now. Started a few podcasts. I did some writing. I mean, I urge artists to always have 5 different things going on at once, so that, because just the fact with any industry, it could be any type of thing you're doing. If you have 5 things going on and one hits, you hit a home run. I mean, and you think you can apply that also, and I digress, but to a record label, say a record label signs 20 acts or 30 artists a year, right? If 1 or 2 of those hits and the others fail, those 2 make up for all the other shots with the other ones. So the fact that it's so hard to make it in any type of industry, people should forge ahead no matter what, and use that time wisely. It's very difficult on everybody. And I talk about this all the time with the artists, because, they ask, and I think it's going to be, to be honest with you, even a little harder. I don't know if you want to put this out, but man, for artists performing right now, I mean, for, the future, and all these artists wanting to perform, I don't know if it's going to make the prices go down for talent, what they're going to get paid, because everybody wants to get back out. So many artists that are big artists that are going to be going out, and, new artists, it's going to be difficult. So my advice is to get a lot of great new material, and, you've had a year to do it. So get everything lined up and get ready to go out hard and get a great team in place, which is another discussion that I focus on this book. It's all about the team. Nobody is an island unto themselves. There's always a village surrounding any great artist, because you have to have that support team. So make sure that you have positive energy around you, that you're creating content for your music, and you're ready to go out. And right now, you start reaching out to people And, I've done that already on behalf of some artists. And they're like, we really appreciate you reaching out now. Everyone's reaching out, trying to secure things for when the pandemic ends. But it's also the way you go about it. A lot of people are really arrogant. I'm very low-key and down to earth, and people respect that. So it's the way that you come at people and come as a fellow human, because everybody's hurting.
Yep.
And, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but, it's something I discuss all the time. But you have to forge through it. You can't, if you're going to give up, in my book, too, I discuss the certain qualities that separate the extremely talented people from the superstars. And the superstars may not be the most talented, but they're the ones with the most drive and the ability to overcome rejection and to adapt. So if people give up at this time, and it sounds harsh, but maybe that's not their calling. You have to live, breathe, and be obsessive with your craft, so much so that no matter what happens, you won't give up.
Yeah.
And those are the people that eventually will succeed over the most talented people, in fact.
Yeah. What was the most difficult part for you to write for this book? I know this book goes into some dark territory as well, discussing mental illness. What was the most difficult part of the book to write for you?
It was all difficult. The good parts were as difficult as the bad parts, because the love and the innocence of initially meeting the guys and the euphoria of just being young. A lot of this book is about being young. I don't know how old you are, but this was half my lifetime ago, and it made me realize, because this book took me 3 years to write.
Yeah.
Whereas, just to put in context, the screenplay that's blowing up and everybody's talking to me about took me 3.5 months to write.
Yep.
And the reality of this is youth. And I know this is a different answer to your question, but I'll get to that. But the fact that I was looking back on my youth and that innocence and just that absolute, we're going to go conquer the world vibe is much more difficult as you get older. You have responsibilities. You have mortgages. You may have kids. Life ends up weighing on you. But the youth factor and recreating those moments was actually very difficult, because it made me realize how much love I had for these guys. And love for music, love for life, unobstructed by any otherworldly pressures when you're young, for the most part. And the hard parts, because I was still very young, were those moments that were crushing that youthful exuberance. And being told no endless times, having to tell the band endless times, this label passed, this label didn't like this element, that element. And then the worst part was recreating the moments where my boss told me that I had to let the rapper go, and realizing how devastating that was to the chemistry of the band, because I was put in a no-win situation. If you read the book, you'll understand it. But my boss told me, "Hey, the band's going to get dropped unless you get rid of the vocalist." And, not the rapper. And I looked at it as a preservation for the band and a self-preservation, because I was going to get let go too. And the communication and how that must have felt, because it was so unexpected and immediate. And it's a very difficult situation, politics in the entertainment industry, or probably any industry. And, we deal with it the best we can and forge ahead. And that's what is the roller coaster ride of this story, is that through that adversity and being told, hey, you have to make a change, and collectively the band coming to me and going, there's no way we're going to get rid of the rapper, and me sitting down and finding a solution was another euphoric part where we overcame another hurdle, only to be told, the label still didn't believe in the band, until another euphoria upward roller coaster ride, radio spoke. And as a fluke, one of the radio guys played it at a radio conference. I believe it was the Gavin convention, and everybody freaked out and thought this is going to be huge. So we went from, high, the band getting a publishing deal, to, 2.5 years of low, getting rejected by everybody, finding Chester high, getting rejected all again under the low, getting a record deal with Warner Brothers as a super high, only to be told we were about to be dropped, which is another low, and then finishing the record, which we didn't even think would, we were hoping would maybe go gold, to having the band explode really, really quickly. I mean, it was the quickest ride. I mean, it was an up-down roller coaster ride, twist and turn every single day. So that's a long answer. It was a very difficult book to write, and there was a lot of stuff that I didn't remember that I wrote in my journal about my boss hiring. I never even told anybody this because it's actually something I found after a third read because I had so many journals. My boss, that didn't like Linkin Park, hired my arch nemesis A&R guy to run the New York office, and I forgot about it, and it was just, nobody even knew that. I even forgot about it until I was like, oh my God, that guy just really didn't like me. And really made it difficult, and the band never got to see that, and that was very difficult. That was another difficulty, is the band never got to see the torment I was put through outside of the studio that was trying to sabotage this project.
Yeah.
It was very, very difficult. So.
Yeah. Jeff, I cannot wait to read the book. I've got to say, ever since I read the outline, I've been really excited to read it. And I know we are running out of time very quickly. So I guess to wrap up, what's the one thing you would like to say to people out there before they sit down to read this book?
What I'd like to say is be prepared to incorporate the book's tenets into your life. No matter if you're a musician, want to be in the music industry, or do anything in life, to follow a dream, because it is a story about how to make your dreams a reality. And that I am actually very proud of, because I could have taken it, and you could scratch that quote at the end of the, right there, you can end it. But at the end of the day, I could have written, really a tell-all book with gossip, and I am so extremely proud of the lessons this is the lessons I learned in writing the actual book keep me inspired on any endeavor that I actually do. And I'm actually the one who wrote the book, but living it and looking back in my past, it actually has enabled me to just keeping forge ahead with the things that I'm, my goals I'm setting out on a new venture, because you never want to just, sit back and, ride on your laurels or ride on your past experiences. You want to always create new journeys for yourself. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for chatting to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for bringing me such amazing music over the years. It's meant so much in my life as well.
My pleasure. Oh, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm glad we can make the time work, man.
Definitely. So, all right, mate.
Actually, let me know, too. Really, really quick. Oh, did you leave?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, you're still there.
I am.
I have a lot of friends. I used to go out to Australia a lot. So what I want to do is set up some like virtual tours. So